Ace is a loser. You know it's true, I know it's true, let's not pretend anything different. I mean, think about it, right? Whenever he does anything in One Piece, he always seems to somehow get the short end of the stick. Heck, that habit started when he was a child, when he was always holding on to a literal short stick. Homie was setting himself up for failure from the very beginning. And whenever he has a fight, he always seems to lose, whether it be him fighting against Whitebeard, Blackbeard, or Akainu's literal fist. Much like Jack the Drought, Ace's bad luck and record of losing has become synonymous with his identity in a lot of the fandom. Sure, he's actually powerful, all things considered, but his temperament and just bad luck, as well as bad matchups, have caused him to end up in a lot of non-ideal situations, including the most non-ideal of situations, which is the whole being unalive situation. But let me ask you, what if Ace's life was a little bit different? What if it was touched by fate in the same way that Luffy and Blackbeard's lives are touched by fate, where they happen to make it out of impossible situations untouched so many times? And what would this good fortune actually bring to Ace? Over time, victories will pile up, and yeah, they'll offer him tangible opportunities that he'd never really have in the real One Piece canon, but they also impact Ace in less tangible ways. And what if those less tangible ways set him down an ominous path to become the Dark Lord? So, dear viewer, join me on this journey into the unknown, into a version of One Piece that was never meant to exist. Join me in exploring what would have happened if Porcus D. Ace actually captured Blackbeard instead of losing to him. To do that, we need to go all the way back in time to when Ace was initially pursuing Blackbeard. This was the time shortly after Blackbeard had betrayed the Whitebeard pirate crew and killed Thatch. He did this to steal Thatch's devil fruit and set himself on his own path to become a Emperor of Darkness. Ace, being the 2nd Division commander of the Whitebeard pirates, was not too happy with this, so he set out to sea in search of Blackbeard. He did so in a rash way, and in the original anime, it did not work out very well. So this time, let's give Ace a bit of foresight. Because Ace realizes how dangerous Blackbeard's fruit is, he recognizes that even if he beat Blackbeard in a one-on-one battle, he should probably do something to subdue Blackbeard, because if he tries transporting Blackbeard on a ship afterwards, Blackbeard's going to use his devil fruit and do some shenanigans and escape. So with that in mind, Ace commandeers sea prismstone cuffs from a marine vessel on his way to find Blackbeard, which Ace can do super easily, given he's very familiar with sea combat, given what we've seen him do to Baroque works. And then when Ace finally arrives on the island that he encounters Blackbeard on in the original canon, Ace doesn't boldly let himself be known in a dramatic fashion. No, instead, he's smart. He's going to make his own luck. He's gonna sneak up on an unsuspecting Blackbeard, and when Blackbeard has no idea that Ace is even there, Ace is just gonna punch him in the back of the head with a fire fist. Ace is so strong that when he does this, Blackbeard is instantly knocked out. As Blackbeard is unconscious, Ace quickly pulls out Sea Prism Stone Cuffs from his inventory, which I just use that language because I play a lot of JRPGs. Speaking of which, if you haven't had the chance, please consider playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's absolutely amazing. There are adorable chocobos in it, and what more do you want in life? And places them on Blackbeard, nullifying his Devil Fruit powers. This is sort of like an Ace up Ace's sleeves of sorts. Being named Ace, he naturally always has an ace up his sleeve, except unnaturally, he doesn't really wear a shirt, so he doesn't really have sleeves, so it kind of balances itself out. Though to be fair, I get why he's shirtless all the time. I mean, hey, with apps like that, I'm pretty sure it's a moral obligation for him to show them off as much as possible. Ace is standing over Blackbeard's body, honestly a little surprised that his plan is actually working. He took down Blackbeard super easily. And then as Ace is standing there, he actually notices that not too far away, the entire Blackbeard crew is just kind of awkwardly watching. They must have arrived in the midst of Ace's handcuffing of Blackbeard and are just kind of in awe about what just happened. And when I say Blackbeard crew, remember, this is before the Impel Down prisoner break, so this is Blackbeard's base crew. You got Van Augur, you got Jesus Burgess, you got Doc Q, you got Doc Q's horse, just the core group. And at this point, these pirates aren't as strong as they will be in the future, so they're quite intimidated by somebody who is strong enough to take down Blackbeard so quickly without even making a scene, especially after Blackbeard finally got the fruit that he'd been searching for so long. So while they're frozen in shock, Ace just awkwardly brings Blackbeard back to Ace's own ship. And then, even more awkwardly, Ace realizes Blackbeard is too big to fit on his very, very notoriously small ship, which obviously is because Blackbeard has had way too many cherry pies in his recent past. So then, acknowledging this and knowing Ace's ship is too small, he awkwardly asks the Blackbeard pirates if he could use their ship, and they agree. At this point, the situation's super awkward, and Ace and the Blackbeard pirates pirates both know it, but Ace wants to get out of here and leave this whole social faux pas behind. So Ace gets on the ship, and about 5 seconds pass, and then Ace realizes that the black-paired pirate ship is too big for him to pilot on his own, so he awkwardly gets off the ship one more time and asks the black-paired pirates to help him pilot the ship. The black-paired pirates recognize how awkward this situation is, and they don't want to make it even more socially awkward by saying no to Ace at this point, so they just say yes, and then they get on their ship, and they all go on their merry way with Ace. Ace puts Blackbeard imprisoned in the hold beneath the deck of the ship, who is, by the way, still unconscious. I mean, the man hasn't slept for his entire life, so he has a lot of sleep to catch up on being unconscious right now. He's going to be out for a really long time. After Blackbeard is stored away in the hold, Ace shares with the Blackbeard pirates that his main goal is just to catch up with Whitebeard to deliver Blackbeard to Whitebeard's ship. While they're on their journey, the crew awkwardly tries to make small talk with each other, but it's not really working, but they're trying their best, you know? As is Ace in attempting to just find Whitebeard's ship, but unfortunately he's not having any luck. He heads to different nearby locations that he feels the Moby Dick should be at this time. But unbeknownst to Ace, Whitebeard's Moby Dick has been charting a rather unusual course since Ace last saw the ship. You see, Whitebeard accidentally lost a penny pretty recently, so naturally he's making his crew scour the Grand Line for that single penny. And because of this, Ace can't find Whitebeard. And unfortunately, he doesn't have a Beaver card or Denden Mushi or anything of that matter that could reach Whitebeard either. But after searching the first half of the Grand Line Paradise for quite some time, Ace reasons that maybe Whitebeard is in the New World. So not really knowing where else to go, Ace and the intimidated Blackbeard pirates make their way to Sabaody Archipelago. This is where a pirate would go if they want to cross the Red Line in a way that's conventional to pirates. When Ace and the Blackbeard pirates finally get to Sabaody, one of the first things they see is a theme park, and because they've all been journeying together for a while, they've become sort of friends. Their awkward small talk has become non-awkward medium talk, as it tends to do over time as you get to know someone. So naturally the group, they all just want to play around at the theme park. I mean, heck, Blackbeard's still unconscious in the hold anyway, so what else do the Blackbeard pirates have to do? And Ace, who is notably a lot less playful as a person than Luffy, was pulled towards exploring the theme park and just having fun because seeing the theme park made him a little bit nostalgic for Luffy, since it's something he knows Luffy would absolutely love to be silly at. And at one point, while the crew is at the park, they get in line for cotton candy. And as they're waiting in line, the most heinous of things happens to them. Someone cuts them in line, delaying their ability to acquire cotton candy. And naturally, given that Ace is such a hothead, as this person walks in front of Ace, he just decides to trip them. This person falls and hits the ground, but the sound of them hitting the ground is not the sound of a face hitting the ground. Instead, it is the sound of a helmet shattering. The helmet of a celestial dragon. The man who cut in front of Ace was the celestial dragon, St. Charlos. And now St. Charlos is lying in the ground with his helmet cracked. As St. Charlos realizes this, he starts freaking out, realizing that he's breathing what he perceives to be poison commoner air. The anxiety that this causes in him is so strong that he just passes out. And before Ace can process what's happening, a nearby marine who saw the events unfold quickly reports what happened via a Denden Mushi. Ace overhears this, and he knows what'll happen next. That the world government will send an admiral and many other marines to this area, and Ace will be overwhelmed. And that's just what happens. An admiral is sent to Sabaody to deal with the attack on St. Charlos. An attack that was so heinous that it forced him to breathe the air of commoners and stopped him from obtaining one of life's purest delights, cotton candy. Which, by the way, I keep saying that, but if you don't recognize the grandeur that is cotton candy, ask yourself, why is Tony Chopper known as Cotton Candy Lover Tony Chopper? There's a reason. But anywho, the admiral that is sent to the Sabaody Archipelago is none other than Admiral Aokiji. He just so happened to be in the area at the time, given he had recently finished up his dealings with Nico Robin at Water 7 after the events at Eni's lobby, and he'd been on his way back to the Red Line anyway, so he was very close by. And although he's been to the Red Line many times, Aokiji actually has a really interesting relationship with Sabaody Park. He's never been there before. It's something that other admirals and the fleet admiral went to comical lengths to avoid happening, unbeknownst to Aokiji himself. Naturally, anyone who knew Aokiji personally was afraid that if he ever went to Sabaody Park, he'd have so many opportunities to procrastinate that he'd be lost forever and become a broken shell of the admiral he once was. Some people can't handle their alcohol, he can't handle his opportunities to be lazy, which theme parks provide so many of. But alas, due to world government procedures, when a celestial dragon is attacked, the nearest admiral has to be sent to the celestial dragon's aid, and this allowed for no time for other high-ranking marines to interfere. As a result, this lifelong effort to protect Aokiji from stepping foot inside Sabaody Park had failed. And when Aokiji finally arrives to confront Ace, he he immediately gets sidetracked. Aokiji, who loves lazy justice, is at a place designed to give you a dopamine rush for minimal effort, just by having fun and playing carnival games. So his first thought is that stopping Ace can wait. He'd rather take his time, be lazy, and just enjoy Sabaody Park. And he does. Now this whole time, as Aokiji was arriving at Sabaody and starts to explore the park a little, Ace and the Blackbeard pirates had been fighting through more immediate threats on the island, like local marines and other people just responding to the attack on St. Charles. This kept Ace and the Blackbeard pirates on the island long enough to intersect with Aokiji. As the crew is on their way to making an escape, they pass by Aokiji, who is currently playing a basketball carnival game. Ace realizes that Aokiji isn't really hunting Ace right now and gets kind of frustrated at him, yelling at Aokiji for not doing his job. Aokiji ignores Ace's yelling and continues playing the basketball game because he's super close to getting a new high score. And he's just so consumed in the procrastination he's engaged in. Ace takes Aokiji not responding personally. This is similar to what Ace did in Marineford. Takahino said one thing to Ace in Marineford in the original canon, and it just really got Ace, setting him off. Ace felt it was a slight, and in this instance, in this theoretical canon with Aokiji, Ace also took this as a slight. So, being a hothead both literally and metaphorically, Ace attacked Aokiji for that slight with a fire fist. Normally, Aokiji would have his armament hockey up and defend himself against Ace's attack, but being at a theme park for the first time in his life, he's just so overwhelmed by the desire to be lazy and procrastinate that he couldn't even bring himself to notice or care that he was being attacked. So Ace's fire fist landed, and being a natural weakness of Aokiji, given Aokiji is ice, it did a number on him, knocking Aokiji out. Ace and the Blackbeard pirates are kind of surprised about having just defeated an admiral, but they take this as their cue to really bounce, because if they defeated an admiral, the world government might send more, and they're not really ready for that, especially if others aren't as easily distracted as Aokiji. So then, in a panic, the party sped run the steps needed to get across the red line and enter the new world, and they did so. At this point, they were all under so much heat that they figured it's just best for them to stay together, safety in numbers. And also, the Blackbeard pirate crew started to see Ace as someone they could potentially really invest in. This man, regardless of his methods, he defeated an admiral. And a man backed by fate this way was pretty appealing to them, just as Blackbeard had been appealing to them in the original canon. But anyway, when they came out on the other side of the red line, the crew almost instantly encountered a marine battleship. But to their surprise, the ship actually wasn't there for them, it was just kind of passing through. And in fact, when it saw them, it instantly surrendered. Ace was confused by this, but the marine crew quickly explained why they surrendered to Ace so quickly. Apparently, after the events at Sabaody, Ace's status in the world had changed. Ace was now considered the Dark Lord. Ace is confused about this for multiple reasons. Firstly, it feels like it comes out of nowhere to him and it just doesn't make sense. Secondly, Ace is literally made out of fire. The whole thing about fire is that it lights things up. How could he be a good Dark Lord when his whole thing is that he has a body and power that naturally removes darkness from the environment? But although it doesn't make sense to Ace, there is a reason for his title. You see, Big News Morgans happen to be keyed into the recent happenings in Ace's journey. He thought it fitting to create a new rising enemy in the world that would make for an excellent story. Someone that people could unite against. At this point in the timeline, there is no force like that. In the canon One Piece universe, this role would eventually be taken on by the Supernovas, who later evolved into the worst generation when Blackbeard was included. But in this timeline, Blackbeard is out of the picture, and Ace is making way bigger waves than the Supernovas super early on. He very appropriately, for a Dark Lord, overshadowed them. And naturally, Big News Morgans is super opportunistic. He's going to take the first chance he gets to make a good story. And that he did when he was able to connect all of Ace's recent events into a seamless false narrative. His version of the story suggested that Ace joined the Whitebeard pirates and rose up their ranks to gain influence in the world. Then, when ready to ascend to new heights of power, he departed to form his own crew at a strategic time. Naturally, Ace, being a Dark Lord, did not do this through traditional consensual means. Instead, he simply captured another crew and forced them to do his bidding. Then Ace's boundless ambition led him to want to send a message to the world government that he is at the top of the global hierarchy. That's why his very next known move was to attack someone at the top end of the current power structure, a world noble. And instead of immediately evacuating Sabaody after doing so, he waited. He wanted for an admiral to come so that he could send a message to the world that anything the world government sends at him will be crushed. Ace wants his empire, and he has the power to make it happen. His ascension is now. At least that's the story that Big News Morgans went with. It's not real at all. But regardless of whether it's true or not, Ace is going to take advantage of his new role. So he commandeers supplies from the Marine ship, given the Marines are so terrified of him, it's a very easy thing to do. Which actually really came in clutch because Ace and the Blackbeard pirates left Sabaody so quickly they didn't really get time to stock up on supplies before heading out to the new world. And after the crew has the supplies on board, board, they continue their journey to find Whitebeard. Unfortunately, they spend months on their search for Whitebeard because they're just not able to find his ship no matter how hard they try. And as they search through the new world to find Whitebeard, Ace naturally starts leaning more and more into the image of himself as the Dark Lord because he found it helps him get what he wants. Naturally, the acts of him and his crew gradually become more cruel as Ace gets accustomed to playing the villain. Part of this is also due to the influence of the Blackbeard pirates, who are naturally disposed towards being crueler people than Ace's natural disposition. But the other factor that really pushes Ace in this direction is that he's being subject to the psychological effects that are present in the Stanford prison experiment in real life. And by real life, I mean like actual real life, not One Piece real life. Is that psychological effect where if you take on a role, you start to act and think and just be more like the role you're taking on, even if it's a bit different from your default personality. Over time, this gradually shifts Ace closer and closer to the true dark side. The longer the search goes on, the darker Ace becomes, but fortunately, eventually, Ace discovers Whitebeard's ship. He discovers it when it's parked just outside of Dressrosa. Ace gleefully boards, hoping to see his surrogate father and brothers again for the first time in a very long time. When Ace boards, he discovers that Whitebeard had recently passed away. Apparently, Whitebeard had been searching for the penny this entire time, and that's why he's been so hard to track. The Moby Dick's been zooming through the Grand Line looking for it. And only about a day earlier, Whitebeard found the penny he'd been searching for. And he was so overjoyed to finally find the penny after searching for it for so long and building up what it would mean to find the penny in his head that the excitement caused him to have a heart attack. Naturally, Ace felt sad, and he asked if he could rejoin the crew to help them moving forward, and also if his new friends, the Blackbeard Pirates, could join as well. Ace explained who the Blackbeard Pirates were, and he talked candidly about everything he'd been doing for the last many months. Unfortunately, to Ace's surprise, his former brothers could no longer accept him after learning about all the cruel things Ace did over this time. I mean, ruining a potential basketball game high score? Who does that? Plus, some members of the Whitebeard Pirates felt that if Ace was there, maybe Ace could have talked some sense into the old man and stopped him on going on the hunt for the penny. Marco tried on his own, but he felt he really needed another voice like Ace's with him to help. Of course, the Whitebeard Pirates don't truly know if Ace being there would have changed anything, and Ace's personality doesn't make him the most well-suited for this task anyway. But Ace's former brothers are really hurting, and they just projected that resentment onto Ace as a defense mechanism, which also naturally felt easier given they learned that Ace has become the villain. He's become a scapegoat for them. In other circumstances, the Whitebeard Pirates would have normally been a little more open to taking Ace back, especially if Whitebeard were there, given we know how Whitebeard even forgave Squard, who literally stabbed and betrayed Whitebeard in Marineford. But Pops was gone, and the Whitebeard Pirates were not in the right mental or emotional state to really forgive Ace or take him back at this time. So, naturally, Ace left the ship with a broken heart. This wasn't the reunion he was expecting at all. Back on the ship, the Blackbeard Pirates console him, and while Ace was being consoled by the Blackbeard Pirates, he heard something rustling down in the hold. Blackbeard must have finally awoken. Homie really had so much sleep to catch up on when he was knocked out that it took him this long to wake up. But moments after Ace first heard the rustling beneath him, he heard a laugh. Blackbeard's trademark and Blackbeard, always the manipulator, said, "You know, Ace, why would someone like you need a family when you could have the world? That way you could have the freedom to get whatever you want." Ace thought about this for a moment, a very, very long moment, and he realized maybe Blackbeard was right. Ace has lost so much. Ace's father figure, Whitebeard, is gone. His brothers and Whitebeard's crew abandoned him. Of his original childhood brothers, Sabo is unalived, and only Luffy lives. Ace keeps losing and losing family members. He needs to create a world where his family will never leave him, where they will never be allowed to make foolish mistakes that put their lives in jeopardy, like searching for a lost penny so vigorously across the Grand Line that it unalives you. Ace needs to create a world where he prevents this heartache from happening ever again. And at the end of the day, the title of Dark Lord has already given him so much. Maybe if Ace embraced it further and truly tried to elevate himself to ruling the world, he would have the future he desires. Realizing this, Ace starts laughing, but his laugh is different now. It doesn't sound the same way it used to. He goes, and thus, the Dark Lord Portgas D. Ace is born. Who knows where his journey will take him next on his path to world domination? I don't know, but I do know the path your finger will take to smashing that like button, and also the path I'm about to take, which is to exit this video. Duckpiece out.
Hey, it's me again. I know I said Duckpiece out, but I came back to tell you something really, really important. YouTube thinks you'll really enjoy watching the video on the left, so, if you're somebody that likes doing things you enjoy, try clicking on that video. Hey, don't listen to that guy over there on the left. He has a very untrustworthy face. Click on this video over here on the right. Come on, you know you want to do it, don't you?